Good evening and welcome to Hangout in the Crib. For the next 10 minutes, I will be accepting questions. Most will likely be why, over and over in a softer and softer voice. Let's begin. Wait, no, wrong show. This is Hangout in the Crib, and we're going to talk about Battle Pirates, and we will be accepting questions in chat, but you don't have to only ask why. I'm here tonight with Stephen, and Urf is making sure the lights stay on in the UK. So for those of you who are over there, you're probably pretty thankful that he is not here. The rest of us miss him terribly. But anyway, that's about it. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the January WIP, and half of it went into the release yesterday. So we'll talk about it in that context. And then we'll talk about the state of the game. Kixeye published an update, and we'll talk about what they said in that update, and we'll talk about what they've done versus their first state of the game, because mysteriously they didn't directly address their first one. They just put out a new one. So
just move it along. Just move it along.
I wanted to note that, and since they didn't take the time to evaluate how they did, I thought we should. So with that, let me start the slides and share my screen. And away we go.
There you go. I got it set.
All right, so I'm going to start with the bug fixes. There were a lot, but a lot of them weren't that important. There was some stuff with borders at Sector 1. There was a extra button on a pop-up, and some case where players were not being correctly granted the ship skin for a retrofit, I guess, when you finish it. There were a couple that were a little bit interesting. You know, I try to highlight stuff that actually affects the gameplay. So they fixed a bug that made it possible to move your base guarding fleet away from the base while you were guarding it. Never heard of that one. World map repair will be available for fleets that have taken no damage but have depleted their drones, because I mean, it should be fixed, but I just don't know too many people that are using
drones anymore.
Yeah. Tweak the appearance of the black bounding box around the combat area to indicate this is the border of the combat area. I guess if you didn't know that by now, now you do. And then this last one was kind of interesting, and in fact, it wasn't in the original listing of the release. So some of those R&D objectives said that you needed to complete the mastery campaigns 5 times, and apparently they've changed that back down to 1. So I guess that's good for players. I noticed those, and they were kind of in the later objectives, and they were sort of the earlier campaign, right? There was like one of the old Reaver ones, and Snowfall, I think, are the 2 that are in R&D.
Yeah.
And I mean, I tried those with my more recent, Hunter, Aegis, Rhino, that kind of stuff, and they really did blow through those campaigns. So I guess for some players it's helpful, but the players that are, most of the players, I think, that are getting up to those later R&D objectives probably aren't going to have too much trouble with those campaigns anyway.
I mean, if you're able to get the amount of uranium to do the research for the R&D levels, then I don't think you're going to have a problem with getting it done. I mean, what was it, 100,000 for the first level?
Yeah, 100, 140, 160, and still going up. I'm on number 5 myself. I don't know about you.
I haven't started. I've been real uranium poor. I just fixed that, and I'm topped up right now. So I'll probably start one soon.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the WIP and changes. So
she'll shoot your eye out. Be careful.
Those who are longtime careful Crib viewers will note that this is the young lady when Kixeye was teasing that there would be a red status. And she only appeared a little bit on the screen, just enough to see a little red. So
sure, somewhere someone is doing our statistics and they have it mapped for your pictures. Some one of those dedicated fans out there had misinformation. We need it.
Well, it was when they were first introduced. So they said red was coming soon. So I don't remember exactly when that was, but there she is in all her glory. But anyway, so they did make some changes to sector threat, or really not changes to sector threat, but they added more targets. So the level 100 elite helps you get through teal a lot quicker. I've heard that it does about a third of the sector bar.
No, I've seen it do a half. I mean, it hits hard. The shitty fleet that I'm kind of using at the moment, say shitty because it's good holes and not necessarily the best builds, I guess. It's taken about a third of a fleet damage across it, probably 5 coins, but it jumps it right to the bar. I mean, I've only done 2 of them. I wanted to know in case we did this show on Friday, we never materialized. We need a little more research on how hard they really are, but I feel it's pretty balanced, and it takes away that grind of how the hell do I get this bar up by myself?
Yeah, I did. I think I did that one. Gosh, what was that? That was some dreads and
the dreads and the hunters.
Yeah, okay.
They're all pretty much the same line now. The Armadas, the 60
Yeah.
Armada, and the hundreds are pretty much the same.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do them with a hunter and 3 rhinos and an Aegis, and
my Aegis is almost done, so I'll report back and see. Yeah, I built it, and I needed to go back in and fucking finish cooking. So, I can report back and let you know how bad it is.
Yeah, I mean, all these now have that draconian arbalest in them, and it outranges you. And if you stack up your ships, it's going to hit them all at once.
It's so damn hard too.
Yeah. So the technique I've been using on these armadas, on the 75s and on the hundreds, and now on these new ones, is I'll stack up. Well, so I'll instead of like, the way that fleet is designed is I've got my hunter to be my spotter and my tank, and then my Aegis and my 3 rhinos. So usually I'll drive it with the tank in front. But what I actually do is I put the tank in the back. I have it trail, and so I just start like, here. Wait, I'm gonna stop sharing because I need hand gestures for this. So most of my fleet is, the Aegis and the 3 rhinos are down here, and then my hunter's like up like this, and so they're going like this, and then the enemies would be up here. And obviously a video would be really helpful, but I'm just going to use hand gestures. So I hope you all enjoy. And so what happens is they shoot just at my hunter, so that limits them hitting all my ships at once, which is a big deal. And then also because my ships are relatively fast, it does limit the arbalest. So I could do the old 75s with like maybe a half hour to an hour repair, and just take them down. And with those, I had it helped if I was really careful with my range, because then I could just kiss my range and stay out of range of the Scourge Torps. And that really helped limit damage too. Even if I took a couple extra arbalest shots, avoiding the Torp damage was really helpful. I have not tried one of the new 60s yet. I hear they kind of suck, or kind of a lot like.
They're the same. They're like hundreds. They're pretty much they're exactly the same thing. Hunters and with really powerful arbalists.
Yeah. So, a couple weeks ago, I had exchanged messages with Doom Rooster, and had brought up the problem that players are having trouble getting these sector bars up past yellow into orange. And said, you guys recognize that this is a real problem, right? And I told him I thought it was the spawn rate that's the real issue. I mean, in my sector, what was going on is we'd get it into the yellow, and a couple 60s and a couple 75s would spawn, and we'd hit them, and then they'd be gone, and there'd be no targets left, and it would drop back down. And so people weren't asking for different targets. I think people were asking for lower decay rates or higher spawn rates. And Well, this is what they gave us.
The 100, I think, is a worthwhile contribution. I don't really
Okay. Yeah.
understand the redistribution of the 60s because the 60 used to be preferable by anybody with tiger sharks. If you were patient with tiger sharks with scourge torps, you could prep those out basically for free and get your free uranium. So they kind of took that whole avenue away with that long range thermal that's in there now. So they kind of closed it down. I mean, I know they started new low ones for sub 50s, but I know these are kind of hard if you're like 55 or 60.
Well, yeah, and I will say probably adding the 30s for level 50s is a good thing. Although I don't know if most sub 50s can do them. I just haven't been on a huge amount in the last couple of days to really get a sense of these guys. Yeah, I don't know. I did it. So I tried a 45 with my subs, and it was kind of weird because the battleships didn't have thermal, but they apparently have really good sonar because they were seeing my Tigers right about as I got into torp range. So that, and they've got R15 cat drive and 2 S armors, so they must have really good thermal. But they have like 1 torpedo, and so they weren't hitting me, so that was fine. But then doing that last hunter in the 45, it launched a nice volley of torps. Now I guess if you're willing to go zombie, you can do those targets. You can do those 45s for free with subs.
As you said, there's no spawns. There's none to hit.
Yeah. Okay.
Kixeye has been they've been accused of over spamming fleets of things we don't need. This is something that we need.
Right. And then the 75s, I would also prep with Tigers. By the way, I would prep out the dreads. That was pretty easy to do with my Tigers because they just, if you don't have a flagship, they'll just circle up, and you can pick out the dreads. That's not too hard. So that made 75s easier. Definitely not free because you can't do that with the hunters. But
before we move on, I got a quick comment from the chat. George here says he used to get 10 minutes of damage per 60 that he hit. Now it's 5 hours of the same fleet.
Yeah, I've heard from everybody that they're harder. I've seen some videos. I think the other thing that's working is Deluge Tiger Sharks, and I've seen some videos of people doing that. It takes a little careful driving, and it just seems such a waste to put Deluge on Tiger Sharks, but it does seem to be working because you can stay at that long range. 100. And really the nice thing about doing Deluge on Tigers is Deluge don't hit very hard, but Tigers have that DPS bonus, and so that kind of makes up for the fact that the weapons are so weak.
Yeah, Tigers are definitely the go-to sub if you don't have Ghost Crawler. They are the new workhorse.
Yeah, I've got 3 of mine done, and then I'm taking a break on refitting my 4th because I'm
loneliest number.
Ages.
I have one.
One of them, if you got Scourge Torps, even one is pretty useful.
That's what I use it for. I try to use it as a thermal. I'm going to build a second one soon. I might gift myself a coin one up for present to myself. Two's better than one, I guess.
Yeah. All right, let's move on from Armadas. So also in the WIP and then released on Tuesday were alliance improvements. So they added lieutenants who can do role assignments, and I think they can also do accept members and kick members. So really the only difference between the alliance leader and the lieutenant, I think, is the ability to assign lieutenants. But so there. And then what it lets you do is they added essentially fully flexible roles. So before you had to be at a certain level, and that puts you in a role based on your level, and then the leader could promote you or not promote you, which meant that a whole lot of alliances were top heavy because players with any significant experience would end up in gunner, and that was it.
Yeah, that was pretty horrible. I mean, you had armors is where you wanted it, and you never could get a single armor ever.
Right. Yeah, mine had a few that we were able to develop, and so I like this change. Although I think there's some, I'll call it risks with it. The first one is it does favor the large alliances, and the small ones not so much, because they won't be able to fill every role or get full points for every role. And then the other one is that old structure, I think, encouraged alliances to try to recruit smaller players. Because if you were smart, and you recruited a gunner, you'd keep him a gunner. I mean, not a gunner, a armorer.
Mm-hmm. But what wasn't that, like sub 50? It was super low.
Armor was 31 to 38.
See, I mean, you have to get tadpoles there.
Yeah.
How do you really know if they have any ability or?
You recruit them.
Yeah.
You recruit them and then kick them out if they're no good.
Still, that's a big gamble. Then you got to pray and hope they get their 1,000 points to get it. I think this is a long time coming. I'm glad they did this.
Yeah, and certainly it's better. It's going to enable more alliances to get more of the bonuses, but it does remove that recruitment incentive, I think. So, I think this is good overall. Okay, base planner. So this one was one that we've been asking for, and every time they change the base planner and didn't do this, we've ripped Kixeye a new one. And so they finally did it. So good for Kixeye. We can place our base defense fleets using the base planner.
Yes.
It's good, right?
Oh, it's really good. Just drop it up right here if you want to see the difference.
Yeah, pull that up. Here, I'll lock you in. There you go.
Ship range. It shows your actual ranges. This is my shitty backup fleet. Before people ask how horrible this is, patrol range is set to 0. You can actually see TAC ranges again. It's nice and overlaid and separate. I like the fact it used to be such a overwhelming blah of red rings that you couldn't really see anything.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, there's your turret ranges, of course, again.
Yeah.
And then all your building levels. I think it's pretty smart. They did a good job with this.
Yeah, it'd be nice to. You still can't select individual turrets, and see their ranges, can you? Unless you move them.
Oh,
no, not even when you move them.
Let's see, turret range. Turn that off.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, it'd be nice to select one at a time.
Yeah, well, future improvements maybe. Nope.
Guess. But yeah, this is good. Yep. All right. So that's done, and that's good. Of course, the screw up, and it did make our screw ups, and I'll just give you the spoiler. Your guard fleet was probably rearranged, so hopefully you fixed it before you got smushed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw some weird pictures out there. Some weird layouts came out over the last few days.
I bet. And then this other feature that we've all been waiting for is in the WIP. You can coin lots and lots of VXP ranks at once. So when you're spending huge amounts of coin to rank your ship to legendary, now you can, well, not now, I don't think it's out yet, but you will be able to do that all at once instead of having to do 25 separate coining events.
Wait and do it once a month. I mean, if you're really doing that at this point, with as great as Kixeye has become on that one front, I'll give you credit for one thing. I love my VXP weekends. I have nothing to rank because I don't build fast enough. But right. I don't really see a point of ever coining rank again. Maybe you like the extra to finish it off if you want to do whatever, but the coin from base to 0.
Yeah, I think some people, people did it with their drag carriers. So.
Well, they did it with their drag carriers, and they came out when VXP was the next weekend.
Yeah. People did it, though.
Had to have those toys a week early, I guess.
Some people have poor impulse control, I guess. But, some people were kind of ripping them for this. I feel like, if they want to make it easier for the whales to spend their money, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, I can't fault them for that. It is a business. We talk lots of shit about people spending money in stupid ways, but hey, that's what Kixeye wants, right?
Right. All right, let's move on from our lovely military lady onto the steampunk crafting lady. So this is other stuff from the WIP in January, and I thought these 3 were sort of vague, so I called them out and said it's vague. But they said further armor reductions are coming, and they're calling it rebalances, making repair cheaper overall. I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, the repair improvement was better than no repair improvement, and it was noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to that when we get to their SOG update. But it wasn't bad. So we'll see what happens next, I guess. R&D improvements, and this one was really vague. They said improve feature based on your feedback. I guess we gotta. I mean, what do you think about that feature? You say you haven't started any of them yet?
Oh, unfortunately, I haven't. I was going to start it today. That 100,000 was keeping me away. I just haven't had time to hit. Like I said, there were no damn armadas anywhere. I've just been so damn uranium poor the last few weeks. Now you can actually. I have been in the same sector for a while, and we have not done a very good job of filling the sector bar. So it's been a struggle. Sorry, I'm sorry. I really don't have any good points on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it, and we can talk about this on the SOG feedback too. But I feel like it does encourage more base hitting because I've been doing more base hitting, just trying to steal time.
I've definitely been hearing people in raid calls going after people for that 8 hours.
Yep.
They want that 8 hours.
Yep. And I think I've been getting hit more again for the same reason because I usually have the little pumpkin on my base. Mm-hmm. And so, my goal is every time my bubble drops, I want to hit 2 people so I know that I'm going to come out ahead on that exchange. But anyway, I don't know what they're going to change, right? I mean, because are they gonna? They're not going to take bonuses away from people who've already earned them. I would think that's something even Kixeye very very rarely does, right?
They're not gonna. They don't withdraw content.
Yeah. So, other than add more stuff onto the chain starting at 16, or I don't know, play with the times you get from base hits and whatnot. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to fundamentally improve the feature.
Unless they're talking about values and what it actually gives you. I think you're right on that. There's not really much. It's a big vagueness.
Yeah. The critical hits are worth talking about because a double damage shot is a real nice way to overcome deflection and big deflection. So, that first one I think is really valuable. Even if you have trouble with it, I think it's 2%, right? A 2% critical hit rate would be like a 2% DPS bump.
Yes.
Okay, if nothing else was going on, but against those plate and deflection reductions, you get all that benefit. You get that full 100% benefit. So it's more than a 2% DPS improvement in those kind of situations. So if people are coming at you with carriers or heavy cruisers, it really helps.
Nice.
Okay, and then crafting. Again, they talked about a couple ideas for crafting. The thing that I saw, I did some poking around in the forums, is they have some crafting system in Vega, and the players hate it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about all I know.
Hopefully, there's not going to be much crafting. We'll see.
Well,
the apple doesn't fall far from the tree on this one, I don't think. So
yeah, they do.
I'm gonna try not to be openly pessimistic for things I don't know, but I'm not excited.
Well, right. Let's say they say, you can take apart hull blueprints you're not using and make other limited hull blueprints or something. I don't know. Well, what players are going to benefit from that? And the answer is the top players who have all those blueprints anyway. So, they don't need another way to get blueprints because they're already earning the ones that are released. And so if they're special unique blueprints for crafting, well, then again, only the top players get it. And if they're the same old blueprints, some other way to get, I don't know, Unshackled Hellhounds or Harlock's Aegis or I don't know, Artemis or something like that, those guys already have them. So why do they need more?
Yeah,
It's that's going to be the hard part of coming up with a good crafting system is finding a balance where it's useful to all the player levels. Because if it's just useful for the end players, that's, I think, a waste of time.
Yeah, I guess I got a lot of trashy blueprints I can get rid of here. I guess there was some impact cannons.
Sure, and battleships or strike cruisers or whatever. But yeah, whatever.
That's the attitude for today, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought it was saying why over and over again in a progressively quieter voice. Why? I'll admit that was cribbed from Welcome to Night Vale, but anyway, we are the crib. Okay, moving on. That's the whip. There was a schedule, so the next raid is coming up on the 14th, so that's just over a week.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind. Nope, I lost it. So it's Revenge Raid 3. Oh, that's right. That's what I was going to say. We do have some pictures. I didn't put them in the slide pack because they've been out on forums and all the Facebook groups for a while. But there are pictures. Top prize is a Punisher hull, which is a Draconian ballistic ship, and then Draconian Arbalest. So I don't know if it's going to have the same massive range that the Armada Draconian Arbalests have. I guess we'll just have to see. It was described as a medium range weapon. So what does medium range weapon mean to you?
Is this Kixeye medium range or our medium range?
I don't know.
Because there's the question. That 30 or 40% buff they have on everything that we have. So
yeah. I mean, right? Because you've got, if you're talking about weapons players are using, right? You've got the new generation of missiles, which you can get to 98.8 with solid fuel booster or guided missile system, right? And you've got the bomber UAV, which is at 98. And then you got the Arbalest at 95 with its nuclear accelerator and on a SCX or a Crusader, one of those kind of ships. And then you got the U launcher 98U at 94. I guess that's also 98 if you're on a fusion cruiser. But so the question is it going to be like 98? Medium range mean 98 because it's like not as long range as the NPC ships?
If I can fucking use that instead of my slow-ass antipode launchers on a fusion cruiser all day long, if it's 98, I'll be a happy fat guy over here.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Think of the stacking abilities there if you could kite with those. So I don't think it's going to be quite that far.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, the difference between 98 and say 95 or 94, in like strongholds and stuff, that's a big deal.
That's the difference between them firing on you and you kiting them.
Right. Exactly. So, it matters. It's going to really matter what that range of those new weapons is going to be. So I guess we'll just have to see.
Somebody asked if we're going to get a new ballistic range extender in the FM. The only thing that I worry about that is ballistics are such a long range anyway. If you do that, you're going to have some crazy numbers out of it that I don't think would happen.
Well, yeah, and I was getting to that, right? So no word on another VXP weekend in January. No word on a FAT in January. So I just wanted to point those out because those were not in the whip at all. I don't know if they're gonna, they did 2 VXP weekend 2 months in a row, but I don't know if they're gonna do one this month. So
I know people that coined repairs to go out and do it again, so they definitely made money by doing it.
Yeah,
They should definitely keep them up. Kixeye, if you watch the show, keep those around. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I'll give you money. Okay? You want money from me? I'll give you fucking money. Just keep them around. I'll leave a 20 under the door with some pizza and a unicorn hat, and there you go. That's my bribe.
I will admit that I don't spend money on the VXP weekend. I tend to take expendable tank ships and put them in front, and then put zombies behind it, and just blow through a whole bunch of old crappy ships I don't use. And so I don't. Anyway, yeah, plenty of people do. I totally agree. So let's talk about new tech, because and they announced the names, which I think is really good that they're doing this before the raid, so we kind of get an idea of what's coming. Because again, they did it last month and we knew it was coming. They've done it previous months and we haven't known it's coming, where some other goodie that you'd want on the stuff you won in the raid is in the Forsaken mission. So that really affects I would say, the whales that are coining the stuff right away. But so this first thing, armor-piercing shells. They say increases ballistic damage and increases pierce range of weapons with pierce. So what that's telling me is that it's not going to increase the actual weapon range, but it's going to hit further behind it when you've got the armor-piercing shells.
Do you think it's a further distance, or do you think that they decrease the degradation over distance?
Good question. I assumed it was range and just straight damage, but it's. I quoted what they wrote, so that's all we know. You can make guesses from there.
Who is this vague motherfucker who's writing these? That's what I'd like to know.
Honestly, my guess is they don't know for sure yet, and they're still working on it. So, all right, we got armor-piercing shells. Now, so the mere existence of those, let me ask you something. If the Punisher has only 4 special slots, would you have room for armor-piercing shells?
Wow. I don't know.
The correct answer is no, you would not.
I don't think so. I would say no. I'd rather have the evade boost.
Right. So that probably is a good hint that the Punisher better have 5 special slots for this special to be useful. That's my guess. And that's my swig of beer. All right, cadmium solar panels, base special designed to increase the power of bases. Back when we had Outpost 6, I was up at power limited, but now I'm not. It's going to be a while before I'm power limited, so I don't know. Are many players out there power limited at Outpost 7?
I'm not. I haven't heard too many complaints about it. That would definitely be, people want to put in comments for this or on the Facebook page and let us know what you think about that. How's your power situation working out in your base? And we'll bring it back up next week.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think I'm at 71,000 with a max of 85.
I'll tell you.
I don't know. And I mean, it's not like I'm not going to get there eventually, but it's going to take a while.
I forgot where I look for it, to be honest.
Modify a turret.
Okay. 666,000 of 85,000.
Yeah, so you're just over I think the old limit was like 65. Yeah, so, yeah. All right, so then we got a new armor, D5M, which they say increases DPS deflection. So, when you see the name D5M, you think it's going to be like D5E, but missile defense. But instead, it's going to, I guess, give a deflection stat to ships that don't have it, which may end up being a very, very powerful, useful thing to have. Okay.
I know this is hypothetical, but would you flat trade it for evade? it's in the ether right now of what it does.
Well, yeah, it depends on how much deflection. I guess that'll be the sort of thing that I write an article on.
Keep your
Right.
eyes on his page, people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's clearly right. You know, you can. I mean, that's going to be a good article, I think. And obviously, what the answer is going to be depends on how much deflection you get. But um, you know, I love ships with deflection. I mean, I do the Forsaken missions so cheap now because I've got a hunter with 60 assault deflection and a rhino with 600 siege deflection. And when you put those behind an Aegis,
Mm-hmm.
stuff just doesn't crack it.
Do
And
you, does your Aegis take it? You're not getting the explosions from the oh shit, where's the Wendigo?
no,
Okay, see,
I mean
mine.
half the time I can take it out with retargeting, but yeah, the Wendigo fires at my Neptune,
Mm-hmm.
and so A, it misses most of the time. B, it doesn't damage when it hits, and yeah, the Aegis takes out the field. So yeah, those Wendigos aren't a problem
I
for
tried
me.
it once. It dropped so fast. Don't think I had enough evade, so it just hit my Aegis right away and blew my Aegis up in one shot. So I
Yeah.
was like, "You're going back into shipyard, buddy." 3 days
Yeah.
on a fully done Aegis, so it was worth the wait.
Yeah. 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 I my Aegis is countermeasures. If my Aegis is getting shot at, I'm driving wrong. So um, hopefully that'll be a
Well,
little
they
bit
have a
better.
pretty low evade. I think it was only like 20. I think I only had engines on it. It was like a 20% evade, so it was a big target essentially.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, mine has countermeasures, engine, and thruster. Actually, Reaver Scout engine to keep up with the rest of my fleet. So
Ooh, maybe I should pull that off. Now you're making me question my build. We'll talk after this.
okay, we can talk. It's the build I post on the blog. I mean, that one's I really like the build. Really
I
like the
went
fleet.
D6A and Agility 4 on it with Speed 5, and then Gale Systems.
Well, yeah. See,
What's up?
I drive it so I don't get shot at. So
Yeah,
so there.
I'm not so good at that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, but anyway, so D5M could end up being very useful. You know, deflection's good. Deflection's really good. It is the last thing subtracted from damage. So after the resist, bypass does not affect deflection. It just takes. It's really good. You want it. I'll be looking forward to that. And then the last one is this cold snap rocket turret. I'm guessing it's going to be another one of the limited base defense turrets. That seems to be Kixeye's pattern. They've done some good ones and they've done some not so good ones, right? I think everybody decided that Deadeye Ballista was a bust. But I think people who have the scattergun really like it. I really love mine.
Oh,
So
I
we'll.
should get that next week. Hell yeah! I'm finally down to Scattergun in the bonus.
Oh,
Finally caught
nice,
up with the FM. I got to the point where I'm doing it twice a week now.
nice,
So
nice, nice.
thank you.
Yeah, scattergun is really good. Build it. I've almost kind of centered my base defense around making my scattergun live as long as possible.
So I shouldn't build my base around my javelins.
Nope.
Aw, that was like a $70. That was a $70 get like a year and a half ago. You got to hold on to that money. It's dead in center, baby.
Okay.
I don't need
Do it,
APOX. I'll just keep my javelin. No, I'm not going down this line.
do what you want, sporty. um, so the cold snap rocket turret work to prevent special abilities from certain hulls, such as overload. It's also a little vague. You know, is it gonna? Does it mean it has to hit before overload? You know, before it suppresses an overload. So that means it's really only going to work for a short period of time because base turrets, even when you do things like permacrete and D4M and 2 combined defense and whatever, you know, turrets still don't last that long.
No, not at all. Nowhere near what they should.
Yeah, so it's questionable. Another big question is going to be range, right? Is it going to have range on 100 or is it going to have range 70?
See, I would hope it would be a water effect where it functioned like, I'd say, like the oil slick, where it's actually on top of it instead of just being an impact weapon. I believe you're right. It's probably just going to be impact based, but that would definitely be interesting if it was. If I could actually lay down true fields in my base where you'd have to get through, I think that would be a far more creative way for them to approach it.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait and see. But anyway, let's move on. We got SOG to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So Kixeye, gosh, it's probably about 2 weeks ago. They posted the state of the game update, and so I took some quotes. And Captain Ouch has written another missive as a follow-up to last month's state of the game post. So they say the rebalancing and reduction to repairs is a huge initiative. Hopefully it is, because they better get it right. They want to be as transparent as possible, and that's an interesting thing to say, and I'm going to get to that in a slide or so. And they say it's going to take time and iteration. So expect iteration. I mean, you saw they did one iteration on repairs, and they say they're going to do some more. They iterated on the Armadas, so we didn't like that so much.
No,
but we'll see. So I'm going to go through their state of the game update. So the first thing they talked about was repair, and yes, they lowered armor repair by 20 to 40%, depending on what type of armor it was. And they say they're seeing a close correlation in reduced repairs overall. What I think is...
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, please.
I was going to say, this comes out the people who say that Kixeye doesn't look at the metrics or look at the numbers. It's right in front of you. Is a metric-driven company. They've got it right there. They know everything about how you're using the system.
Well, right, and whatever. I think even bigger than the fact that they're looking at the metrics is they actually shared this plot. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is like proprietary customer data. This is like competition sensitive. I mean, if I were in the gaming business and I could see, oh, Kixeye's getting this many gold per player per day. That's good data to have, and to have about your competitors. So I think it's a really big deal that they shared this, and maybe you shouldn't lose sight of that. Well, whether you think the repair reductions were enough or not enough, I think the fact that they shared this plot is a really good thing. I mean, you can see, right? And it's interesting, right? You got these big valleys, which I assume is when it gets a little bit quiet just before a raid, right? You get the little peak. Peaks are probably repair spending during a raid. I'm surprised that the difference between a raid week and a not raid week it's a lot lower than I thought it would be, honestly. Yeah. But there it is in front of you. So I found that a little surprising. And I guess the fact that it's so constant for 6 months and then takes a big drop tells you that this is probably statistically significant. Is it, when I see a plot like this, I'm thinking in my head, does it tell you anything about players leaving the game? Maybe. I guess it depends on what player sample they take as average. Do they take every player who ever played, or players who've played in that day or week or month? But it's been real constant for 6 months, and then takes about a 25% drop in this post change cycle. I would not have expected it to drop that much.
No,
my economic theory would tell me that people are willing to spend a certain amount on repairs, and they'd spend it no matter what the repair cost was. But data says otherwise. So I guess it's good. We'll see. All right, I'm gonna keep going. Unless you got something else to say about this.
No, keep it going. Rock and
All
roll.
right. Build timer balance. For those of you who read my blog, I do bring this up at every opportunity. They've been making changes that affect stuff, but not correlating build time. And I think that's a big problem. But so they're still talking about it. They say work has begun, which is good, that sometime in the 3 months since they said they're going to start, and now they have actually started doing work. But we haven't seen really any of it. There have been a couple build time changes with the weapon rebalance. The only one of those that I thought was at all significant was that S siege cannon is super light and super quick to build now. So that makes it really handy if you want to pump up speed on something. But other than that, I didn't see any of the build time changes on weapons as significant.
Not in anything that's crucial to high or mid-level play.
Yeah. I don't even know why. I mean, I felt like the change to those S cannons was a mistake. Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so out of line with the other siege cannons and so a lot out of line with every other weapon. It just seems like a big mistake, that S cannon. And Kixeye's made errors in that stuff before. If you remember when the 98F launcher, 92F, they got the build time wrong when they released it, and they changed it, and they ended up refunding gold for people that coined it early. My opinion is that Kixeye messed up the build time of the Siege Z because all the other big Siege missiles took a day and a half, yet the Siege Z is exactly 24 hours less. I suspect that.
Let me interject people that don't realize that the Siege cannon is now a 20-minute add-on.
Yeah, it's a 12 tons and 24 minutes to build a Siege Cannon S.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Something I might build in the very near future is a Draconian carrier with a bunch of S cannons on it. So it keeps up to tank with my really fast fleets and spot for rhinos. And it's going to be like super light, super quick to build, like a 2-week build. Whereas a lot of other tanks I look at are like 3-week builds.
Mm-hmm.
I think that S cannon was an error that they can't back out of.
Yeah, that one's pretty set in stone. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, they admitted it on the 92F and changed it. And I've always thought that Z missile, Siege Z, was a build time error as well. Because that one was out of line with other similar weapons for its build time. Didn't mind. It was what I considered the best value in the game for a long time. But anyway, so they still are talking about build time rebalance. They have not done anything yet. So they do talk about the size to cost ratio. Fleets get bigger, therefore they take longer to build. In the previous SOG, they talked about making it very closely tied to weight, build time tied to weight, which is probably good. They say they want to address the problem of old hulls taking a long time to build when they're not nearly as good as new hulls. I think that's a real important fix especially for like lower level players, because those older hulls are all they have, and you just feel terrible. You'd recommend like a interdictor build to somebody, and you look at it and it's like, it takes you 2 weeks to build that piece of junk.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Yeah. So that's got to get fixed. So the fact that they haven't done it yet, I get that it's hard, and I get that probably builds are a major source of revenue, so they don't want to screw it up. But I think it's the most important problem out of everything they were looking at in the SOG, and the fact is they haven't actually done anything of any significance. So there.
From the mouth of the professor, people.
That's how I really feel. All right, sector threat and R&D. They say they're going to mess with it some more. They talk about right here overall experience for lower density sectors. That's, I think, what I was talking about when I say you just don't get enough spawns to get it anywhere near orange.
Yeah.
I think that ought to be fixed, and throwing more armadas, I'm not sure was the right. I don't think what they've done is the right solution for that.
Numbers. We need more numbers, Kixeye. Give me more armadas. Triple the spawn rate. Let's go.
Yeah. They also mentioned improving decay rates. So, if it drops slower, maybe a sector could actually take more time and build it up and get it to orange eventually. That's a good answer too.
I feel like it's a little bit better than it used to be. Am I crazy? I remember when it first came out, it was just falling off a cliff, like in a teal.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe in the last week or two, I think I wrote that in my article as well. That it might be a little bit better than it was a week or two ago, but I'm not sure. And then they say the same thing they said in the WIP. They want to improve the system based on your suggestions. So we'll see what happens to R&D. And then I went back to the previous SOG and said, did they address all that stuff? And so on the left side are the sections in that previous SOG that they talked about. And I wrote a couple words on my opinions of what they've done. So again, the first thing in the previous SOG was overpriced builds and refits, and nothing's been done.
No.
They said return of research. Research is back. I'm not sure it's how a lot of people envisioned research.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I guess it could technically be a research system. We could call them that one. We'll give them that one, Kixeye.
Yeah.
It was not as varied or let's quickly. There's no choice in direction.
True.
That's what I consider when I see research.
Okay, yeah. But see, here's the thing, right, is last time they put out new stuff that was researchable, it was new base defense weapons, right? It was the Sentinel 5 and the Victory Mortar 5. Mm-hmm. I think 98% of players did not give a crap when those were released to research.
I did it because I like to click buttons, but I've never used one.
Right.
That's the kicker.
So the fact that they did something that every player wants, right? Even if you can't do it yet, I think every player wants those little bonuses. I think they're worth it. So I think it's good. Overpowered weapons they talked about, and I would say that the weapon rebalance helped because it didn't weaken any weapons, but it did make it so that there's not just one best weapon, and if you don't have that best weapon in a certain weapon class, you've got nothing.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to talk about this in the screw ups, but I guess I can throw it in right now. I assume you saw over the break where it was acknowledged that the upgrade in other weaponry has affected NPC targets. So some of the things we're fighting are more difficult than they were.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
Thanks. Honestly. Merry Christmas, guys. Your shit's better. Oh, by the way, we hit harder too.
Well, I mean, it should have been obvious that was going to happen, right?
Yes, but then you see it in confirmed, and you just go, "Oh,
well,
damn!"
I can't believe it wasn't like thought about.
Yeah,
That's what
We're
I was
going to increase this variable. It's not going to affect anything else, said no
Oh,
programmer ever.
oh wait. Stuff actually uses those weapons. I'm sorry. It didn't really affect me negatively, so I just kind of laughed about it. But yeah, some players I guess were pretty hurt. But I don't know. Yes, it was a big screw up, and if I'd been doing a show at the time, it would have made the screw ups at the time because it was an obvious effect to me of the weapon rebalance, and the fact that Kixeye wouldn't have thought that that might happen was, I think, a little crazy. So, so there. The next one, cheaters and exploits. I noticed very specifically there was no word about that in this saga update. There was nothing specific announced about cheaters and exploits. You know, a lot of players cry hacker or mass ticket insectors and BS the system and when there's no hacker. But the fact is, the hackers are out there, and it makes the game less fun. And it's the perception that there are a lot of hackers out there, whether or not there are a lot of hackers out there, is bad for the game.
Definitely.
Kixeye has always been very reluctant to release any data related to cheaters and whatever. I if they want to release data on how many people were banned.
I was going to say the same thing. I think the positives for that outweigh any negative feelings that they may generate towards, hey, this is an unsafe platform or it's an easy platform to game. But to see that you're actively working on it, hey, we banned 2,000 bases this month. This is what we've caught. This is what we're doing to try to fix it.
Right. Yeah. Again, every other item in the SOG was at least given a thought, at least over the last 3 months, or in this SOG. At least they say they're still working on it. This one was not. Absolutely nothing. No word. So, Price is going to give them letter grades. This one is clearly an F because they just, as far as we can tell, they haven't done anything. So, boo.
Incomplete mark, sir.
Yeah. Okay, sector threat uranium. We talked about the changes there.
B plus.
Yeah, I might have given him a B until the latest round of changes, and maybe.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. I'll go B minus. They did screw up my 60s, so yeah, screw you.
Yeah, I was doing 60s for like 5-10 minutes repair.
Yeah, a lot of people were.
Yeah. All right, so VXP. What was interesting is, other than the VXP weekend, they didn't change a thing, and they were talking about a lot of ideas in that first SOG. None of those have happened. None of those are being addressed. People do like the VXP weekends, but
what I'd like to see is a good change for VXP. I'd like to see you get VXP for killing buildings. I know a lot of stuff that you use in, say, your FMs, they don't really level anyone ever. I mean, you might snipe out the fleets and get a tiny bit. You're going to get 100 across a fleet or 200 across a fleet for doing an 85. I'd like to see maybe bump that to 1,000, 2,000, something.
Yeah. If they could up the XP cap per battle.
Did I kill shit? Did I take damage? Give me experience.
Yep. They could very easily do that. They could, like you said, give XP for killing buildings, give XP for shooting down missiles, for countermeasures. They could do a lot more with it. And that one, You know, again, other than the VXP weekend, they haven't done anything. Well, and now you can coin a bunch of ranks, or not now, but soon. So,
How much would that cost? Do we want to just do the numbers and see?
no, I don't.
Light my black card on fire. Just click.
It's I think it's over $100 to take a ship from 0 to legendary. I think.
You guys can't see me because we're on the slides, but I'm just shaking my head. And I'm going to keep doing this.
No, you're showing up occasionally. People can see you shaking your head. It's fine. It's good. Yeah.
So I gotta put my shirt back on? Aw, man.
Don't worry, nobody's seen your moobs. All right, I might have to blank your video if you get any. Okay. Repair times. Repair times have been reduced, and more tuning is to come. I guess you know, they've done something.
Yeah.
And then base attacking rewards. They talked a good game in the previous saga about that, and you know, I did briefly mention it earlier. I thought that, you know, the R&D system giving you 8 hours for smashing a base or losing 8 hours for getting your base smashed it's an incentive. But
it's a push in the right direction. It's anything that brings back any kind of engagement with base hitting is a good thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
I haven't wanted to hit a base in 3 years. Now I want to go hit people's bases. Put it that way.
All right. Yeah, I mean, you know, I would usually just hit what I need from my ally points and stop. Now I'm hitting more bases. Absolutely. So getting sniped more too sucks. Get a little lazy. I hit some easy base and nobody's watching me, and then I just come out early, and happened to me this afternoon. I gotta play careful, I guess. Anyway. All right, so that's the previous SOG. Getting close to the end here. So if you have stuff you wanted to say about that in chat that maybe we might have missed, please do. We're getting close to the end of the show and the end of our slides, but we'll try and address stuff that came up in chat. So screw up and breakthrough. Again, I did them both with the base defense planner. The fact that they moved their ships around should have been something obvious that should not have been screwed up. And then, but they did it, you know, put the ships in the base planner. So that's good. And I get at least give them props. You know, having your ships move around is temporary. You can fix it.
Yeah, I'll take a little discomfort for something that's actually interesting. Good job, Kixeye. One thumb up.
Yeah. The breakthrough is better than the screw up. I give them that. So, all right. So I'm gonna stop the slides, and I guess again we're just about through with the show. But if there's stuff in chat, fleet. Oh, and see now fleet locking up in base hits. Hey Chuck, you want to elaborate? Is that locking up when you come out of base hits? Because I was just talking about how I've been getting sniped a lot. I want to know if that's just me, or if I thought it was just me being a slacker. But
while we're waiting on Chuck to respond to that, have you been getting a lot of rubber banding going on, especially full screen? I've been having them just chug along back. I was trying to knock through that FM last night because I got lazy and had to do 585s in a row, and it was a rough little 2-hour stretch for sometimes the lag. I had to actually go into windowed mode to get rid of the lag. And you know, you've seen my setup. I have a pretty beastly computer set up and good internet, so there's something last night.
Yeah, getting a little more lag. Yep. Somebody Cyborg in chat. Lag has been bad for weeks. I think it has been getting a little worse. And then Chuck responded, no, he's getting, I guess, locking up in base hits. I'm not getting that. But yeah, maybe the game's just not running as well. Yeah, I think there are more complaints about that.
I mean, they've got to be using Amazon servers. I mean, they've got to be. They couldn't be as obtuse enough to be running their own internal servers.
You know, who knows? Let's see what else we got. We got some people were noticing the 75 Armada wasn't paying uranium. I do remember seeing some complaints about that. Thought it was fixed.
Yeah. Cyborg's still talking about the lag, bad lag. So again, guys, you got anything you want to say? Go and throw it out there, and we'll.
Let's see. We got old buddy of mine, Jeff. I think Prof's being generous when he says they've done something about repair times. And, he's right, because the 20 to 40%, it's something, but it's not enough to fundamentally change how you play the game. So, that's a fair comment. They've addressed repair times, but it's not like a monumental change.
William was asking, is anyone having problems with fleets not engaging, essentially just stopping in front of turrets in Drac outputs? I had that. I would say that was basically what I was having to have tied in with that rubber banding issues last night. There was definitely issues with trying to get control and isolation of what I wanted to hit. I thought that was a little sloppy last night, so I think I saw a bit of that myself.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I think once or twice, a week or two ago, but I don't think I've noticed that regularly. Let's see, we got some more complaints about this level 60 Armada. I will say, if you're getting 20 plus hours of repair for a level 60, you are hitting the wrong target.
For anybody who's watching this right now and would like to help put their ideas out, if you can get a good list of maybe suggestions or techniques for 60s, we'll address that on Friday and maybe do a little segment about that, changes and some strategy advice for it.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to describe mine. Hopefully that worked. And
yeah, you saw your hand motions, the shadow puppets, Professor Shadow Puppet Theater. I don't want to know what happens when the lights go down in Prof's house.
Let's see, we got somebody 375s with MCXs, 8 hours repair. That would be pretty good if that's true.
That must be a new MCX build with some decent tech, because my 13 old ass MCXs wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I suppose if you load them up with Harriers, right? You got R10. They have that huge fire rate bonus. I think 150%.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do 75s, I definitely try to take advantage of retargeting. Hit one when it's in range and kill a second.
Do you like 75s?
I do. Well, because I liked 60s better before the change, but never found them. So I learned how to do 75s, which was I'd hit them with my Tigers, and I'd take out the 4 dreads, or the 3 dreads, and then I'd just engage those hunters, and I'd use that same technique I was doing the hand gestures for. So, it wasn't too bad. I'd hit about 3 or 4 and get a couple hours repairing my hunter. What else? Doing 60s with a Merc, 4 hours repair. Carrier's doing pretty good in the 60s.
Aegis seems to be the common thread for people who have figured out the path to the 60s.
Yeah, absolutely. Aegis is great for like everything. Okay, so the guy with MCX wrote all blades. Okay, Aaron, thank you.
Well, if you put blades on a fucking piece of dog shit, you're gonna go kill some boats.
Well, but blades with 150% repair or reload modifier,
mm-hmm.
I guess they're probably pretty well ranked.
Yeah.
And so he's putting out a huge number of missiles and probably retargeting the hell out of. Because when you have those really high fire rates, you just get a lot of missiles in the air, so your retargets do a lot more damage. Yeah. Yep.
Looks like we've hit the bottom of the well here on comments. I appreciate people throwing them out there. Do you see anything else that jumps at you, or do you want to wrap this one up?
I am willing to wrap it up if you are.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve, for coming out. Hopefully Earth is staying safe, fixing the power grid, and hopefully we'll see him back on the show soon. Steve, thanks for coming out tonight, and many thanks to everybody who's watching now and participating in chat. We will see you next week. Have a great evening.
Bye, guys.